alignment in your physical body that affects the mind. So there's a peace and a stillness in the mind, which affects the emotions as well, and ultimately the spirit. The mastery of yoga, the perfection.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to another episode of the Jay Lex Podcast. I am your host, Jay Lex. Please like, subscribe, and share the content. Go into the comment section. Even if you disagree with everything I have to say, put your thoughts in there. You can find the Jay Lex content. You can find the Jay Lex Podcast, on YouTube, Rumble, Instagram, Spotify, and Anchor. Thank you for rocking with me today. Today's topic: the importance of a physical discipline. What do I mean by this? In the previous episode, the one talking about the argument for the Second Amendment, I was talking about the importance of, especially, not only for women, but for men, the importance of learning how to use a firearm and learning some type of a discipline related to the martial arts or mixed martial art of some kind. That was very important because obviously we know times have gotten crazy. People are acting all kinds of wild out here. So please protect yourself as much as you can. Make sure you put yourself in a position where you can defend yourself to the best of your ability. I don't want to hear about anybody. I hate to hear stories of people, getting hurt or getting robbed or anything along those lines. So please do what you can to protect you and yours. But what I want to talk about today is the importance of some sort of a physical discipline. It doesn't just have to be the martial arts. I mean, the martial arts are great. There are studies that show, especially with kids who have like ADHD or ADD, that if you get them into one of those programs, that they actually learn how to focus. They learn how to be a little bit more disciplined. It really helps in terms of kind of behavioral issues that some of these young children tend to have these days. But I think it's important for anybody of any age to have some sort of physical activity, some sort of discipline that they can go to on a regular basis that helps to keep them grounded. One of the big things that we deal with in today's society is a lot of mental health issues, not just like the extremes of, people living on the street and poverty, things along those lines, but there's a lot of people who are depressed. And I believe, I don't have all the research in front of me, but I believe that one of the big reasons that there's so many people who are depressed and who are dissatisfied in their lives is not solely just based upon anything mental. Yes, there might be things going on at work. You have life to deal with. There's always something it just seems like when it rains, it pours. There's always something going on. But I believe that one of the big reasons for a lot of these mental health issues is because people aren't as active as they should be. And I don't just mean that from an exercise standpoint. People tend not to have that release, that thing that they can go to recalibrate their brain, to recalibrate their lives, basically. Everything is kind of gloom and doom whenever something bad happens. And that's just a part of life, unfortunately. People pass, unfortunately. People get into accidents. You could have been trying to get somewhere. A cop stops you. You get a ticket. There's always something going on. And I think one of the things that people tend to not have is that place to release that tension, that anxiety. I'll just give you a couple of examples of things that I think people should be doing. Obviously, you guys know I'm a personal trainer. I'm a fitness professional, certified. multiple certifications. And so for me personally, going to the gym is not just a physical thing. It is not. I have my same issues like everybody else does. And one of the ways that I keep things in perspective, one of the ways that I try to keep positive is by going to the gym and by just working out. I usually start when I go to the gym. First thing I do before anything else, obviously I'm older now, I've got to warm up, so I'm not big on like the cardio machines and everything like that. But what I like to do is I like to go into the sauna for about 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes to start. And one of the reasons that I do this is it helps to center me. It helps to put me in a place of not zen so much, but a place where, okay, I can just kind of let things go. I put on a little music from my phone, something soft, quiet, nothing too crazy. And I just relax for a moment. Whatever was bothering me, I try to let it go. You often hear that with when you go to work. You don't bring your problems to work, basically. So unless, somebody passed or there's something extreme going on. If you got into an argument with your significant other, you don't bring that into the workplace. You know what I'm saying? So if I have some issue going on, I do my best not to bring those issues for when I go to the gym. Because that is my place of peace. That is my place where I can just let the world, go by. I can just relax. Not relax so much, but you know what I mean. I can just mentally kind of escape from all the nonsense that's going on in the day. And I go there, I warm up in the sauna. And then from there, I do a little bit of warm up, get my body prepped, and then I go through whatever program it is that I'm going to go through that particular day. For me personally, I've written programs out. I have like a 4-week program. Each week is something a little bit different. I hit the same body parts. I usually do a circuit, about 45 minutes to an hour, and then I'll stretch. I might shoot the basketball a little bit, and then I'll go back into the sauna for like another 15, 20 minutes, and then there's my day. Now I can go and deal with whatever other nonsense that I have to deal with throughout the day. It's not always easy. It's not always easy to kind of get away from those things. But for me, that is the way that I deal with all the craziness going on in the world. Another thing that I did for about a year before I got injured is I did a little bit of mixed martial arts, which was a lot of fun, which was a great time. Great cardio. I learned a great amount in terms of just self-defense. You'd think people who have like huge muscles, everything like that are, somehow know how to fight or something, or they know how to defend themselves, and they really don't. They're just big, muscular people for the most part. But doing the mixed martial arts, where I learned how to grapple, I learned how to kickbox. I did a little bit of boxing, kind of freelance, and with some other people who were boxers. So I learned a little bit from there, but being able to take all those things and learn how to use them all-encompassing was a really great thing. And one of the great things that I got from doing the mixed martial arts, I'd love to go back at some point, but one of the great things that I got from it was not just the discipline, not just the mental release from a long day of work or whatever the case might be, but I learned how to be humble. Not that I wasn't humble before that, but when somebody's putting you in a chokehold and you got to tap, it's one of the most humbling experiences in this life. And that's why in the previous episode where I talked about the importance of learning mixed martial arts, 2 things. If you've ever met a fighter before, except for a few outliers there, if you've ever really met a fighter before, they're some of the most humble people on the planet. I've met a few. They're really cool, really down-to-earth people. And one of the reasons is, and part of it is just, for the most part, it's their personality. It's just who they are. But they know that at any point, you try to start some nonsense with them, they're going to beat your ass, okay? They know 60 different ways of beating your ass. They know you can do all the trash talking you want to. You can talk about street fighting and blah, blah, blah. I did this and I did that. Except for a few outliers like Kimbo Slice, rest in peace to him. You are not beating a mixed martial artist. You're not beating somebody who knows how to kick, who knows how to punch, who knows how to use it in a combination. You're not beating somebody who's going to take you to the ground and put you in a choke. All right? When they get you down on your back, you have no clue what's going on, and they will humble you very quickly. And most fighters, and you can watch UFC, Bellator, you can watch all these fighting promotions. The guys, they're those guys who are crazy, who are, off the chain, who are off their rocker. But most of those guys, when they hit somebody and they knock them out, they know they've knocked them out. So what do? They just fall back. They don't want any more. They don't want any more trouble. They don't need to do any more damage than they already did. And so that's why I talked about the importance of learning some type of discipline. It could be Taekwondo, it could be Kempo, it could be kickboxing, it could be wrestling, it could be, there's different forms. You can learn Greco-Roman wrestling, you can learn American wrestling, you can learn grappling, submission wrestling. There's so many different avenues that you can go. I mean, the best is you can learn jiu-jitsu, you can learn Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on and on. It's important, and I'll reiterate this, that's why I think it's so important that people learn how to defend themselves. You don't ever have to go into a cage. You can if you want. Sometimes people get into it and they realize, I really want to do this, kind of more seriously than just, self-defense. So they might go into the cage. It happens. There's so many amateur tournaments out there that you can get involved with, whether it's grappling, whether it's kickboxing, whatever the case might be. You'd be surprised. You get doctors, lawyers, people like that who do it on the weekends just for fun. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's very important that you learn something like a mixed martial art, because there's also a mental aspect to it. You'd be surprised how confident you feel and how tall you stand when you know that you can defend yourself if, heaven forbid, something might happen. If, heaven forbid, somebody throws punches at you or tries to rob you. Maybe, it's a little different if they have a gun, but if you know how to defend yourself against a knife attack, somebody comes up from behind and probably just puts you in a chokehold. You start doing those things hundreds of times, thousands of times, it becomes second nature. You can take somebody down in a heartbeat. And it's a great thing. Now you've got more confidence. Now you look at the world through a different prism. Now you understand your body better, because now you're doing things that you didn't think you could do before. It's a beautiful thing. So definitely, if you can get into some type of a mixed martial art, whatever the case may be, some type of discipline like that, it's great. I definitely would recommend it for anybody. As long as it's not cheap, obviously, but as long as you can afford it, it's a great thing to get involved with. But even beyond just exercise, or beyond going to the gym or learning a discipline, there's so many other things that you could be doing. If you are a former athlete, you know what I'm talking about. If you were a baseball player, there's a certain level of discipline that you've got to have in order to, even if you're playing just for fun, there's a certain level of discipline and a certain level of skill you've got to have in order to play that type of a sport. I don't care if it's baseball, it could be hockey, it could be soccer, basketball. Football's a little bit different because people generally don't want to get tackled, so they'll play like flag football. But if you have some type of a physical outlet to get rid of all of the things that's going on in your head, it really helps in terms of your mental health. I believe that strongly. Like I said before, I think a lot of people don't have that release other than going to happy hour, which is a fine thing to do, but taking on those empty calories and driving home drunk. You shouldn't be driving drunk, obviously, but going home drunk and being hungover the next day is not cool after a while. There's only so many Cabernets and old fashions you can drink. That's not going to change the problems that are going on in your life. And I think a lot of people try to turn to alcohol as a means of trying to fix the problems that's in their lives. And it's just not, or trying to mask the problems in their lives. Sometimes going to a boxing gym, learning how to hit a punching bag, hell, playing golf. As I don't think golf personally is a sport, because I don't look at it in the same way that I do, football, basketball, things that require agility, speed, things along those lines. But I will say, I've tried to hit a golf ball before. You trying to hit a golf ball straight is one of the hardest things I've ever done physically. Now, I'm a fairly athletic guy. I'm not, I was never super athletic, but I'm fairly athletic. And even I found it extremely difficult. I think I hit it once or twice, and I felt like it was a huge accomplishment. But if you can find that discipline, that physical activity that you can help to release or relieve or release a lot of the tension that you're having, I think it's a great thing. I think one of the biggest mistakes that was made during all the lockdown stuff was, well, we already know how I feel about that, but I think one of the big mistakes that happened was, or decisions that were made, is not having people, or allowing people to have a space to go to relieve the tension that was going on. In particular, if you lived in like New York City, where could you go? You couldn't go anywhere. You couldn't go to the parks. Everything was closed. You were stuck in this small ass apartment, if that's where you lived. The parks were closed everywhere. The kids couldn't play basketball. They were stuck inside. They were having to do, Google Classroom or something like that. And then they didn't have any place to relieve energy. I remember the mayor of New York City going to the gym when it was closed because they were worried about the spread of COVID. But I'm like, wait a minute. There's a reason why he was going to the gym with his security and everything like that. And other mayors and other governors and people along those lines, they had their places to go to relieve stress. Everybody else didn't have that. If you were a parent and you were accustomed to going to the gym, yes, a lot of people bought equipment and they built their own home gyms, which I think is awesome. Because it still gave you that outlet to do something. But for other people, something as simple as you could barely walk without somebody giving you hell, because they were afraid that the boogie disease was going to catch them and kill them. It was just a crazy time. But one of the big mistakes I think they made, or poor decisions I should really say, is they didn't allow people to go to places like the gym, to their mixed martial arts place, to play basketball, because for a lot of people that's their outlet. And the hypocrisy of it was these governors and these other government officials were doing that. And they were allowed to. And everybody else was stuck at home for the most part. Thankfully, for those who live in like areas where it's a little more maybe suburban or rural, you got to walk around. You got to walk up and down the street. But if you lived in a major city, you were SOL. And it was terrible. And it's no wonder why you're seeing the back end, or the consequence of that is a lot of those people have moved out of the cities. I think I saw something the other day on the news talking about people who are, all but fleeing California, and somebody put up a billboard that said, don't move to Texas. I've never really been to Texas, I've only been to the airport, but you know what? If, God forbid, one of those, quote unquote, pandemics happen again, people need to have space. People need to have the ability to have freedom. People need to have the ability to make their own decisions. All the people who caught Rona, and I think it said over 1 million people passed. Well, I've talked about it before. What was one of the reasons? What was one of the mitigating factors to that? Obesity. Being overweight, morbidly obese. But nobody talked about that during the pandemic. You can go and check the CDC's website. Look up benefits of physical activity. And it was one of the things they took away from you. So what did people start doing? Alcoholism went up, depression went up. They knew all this in advance, and they still did nothing about it. I did an episode yesterday about it. I did one of the episodes more recently talking about it. It was an absolute human rights crime to lock people into their homes. And thankfully here in the States, depends upon where you were, there were different rules based upon where you're. But if you were in like Australia or one of these other places, Canada, geez, you one of those places, like you were literally, your human rights were violated. Some people are okay with that. Cool, that's your business. But it still was wrong what happened. I'm sorry, I apologize. I know I'm getting a little off topic here. But yes, the importance of a physical discipline. I don't care what it is. It will help you. It will help your mental health for sure. Now, some people don't believe that. Oh, what are you talking about? How is that going to help you mentally? You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. You get your endorphins up. You'd be surprised how much better you feel mentally when you've done 45 minutes at the gym, when you've done an hour at your kickboxing class, when you've gone and hit a few golf balls, when you go to the batting cage and you hit a few baseballs or softballs. when you get out onto the basketball court. Hell, it feels great just to walk, barring inclement weather. It feels phenomenal just to be outside. This is one of the things I used to tell people who worked in offices all day. Get out during lunch. Don't sit at your desk. Get out during lunch. Go for a walk. I don't care if you're in a 3-piece suit. I don't care if you're in gym clothes. I don't care whatever it is. Go and take a walk. Not just on a treadmill. That's good too if that's the only option that you have. It's something. But go walk up and down the road. It could be New York City. It could be out in the country. Get away from the desk for a bit. A lot of people work remotely now. And all they do all day is sit inside. They eat at their desk. They check, they got their phone, blah, blah. Unless you're listening to music or something like that, get away from all that. Unless it's an emergency, they can contact you later. It is great for your mental health to deplug, to get in the gym. If you want to be outside at a brewery or something like that, that's cool too. But to get out there, have a physical discipline of some kind, walk your dogs. You'd be surprised how something like walking your dog for 30 minutes can give you a different outlook on things. But find your physical discipline, have fun with it, adjust it according to what you need to get done, and you'll see how much better you'll feel in terms of your life, your outlook. I think depression will go down immensely. Other mental health issues will go down immensely, barring the outliers. I think it's a great thing. So find that physical discipline, and everything else will take care of itself. And even if it doesn't completely, go and see a mental health specialist. Absolutely. But start with the physical. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Jay Lex Podcast. Please like, share, and subscribe to the content. Take care. Bye.